Hey everyone, it's me, Hannah Payne here, and I'm back with another read-along video. And this time, it's Peter Pan, Chapter 9. So let's go over to the 9th chapter and see what happens next. And see how Wendy's story goes. Chapter 9, Wendy's Story. Wendy began her story. There once was a gentleman, and there once was a gentleman, and I'd rather there be a lady, said Curly. Quiet, Wendy scolded. There was also a lady. Oh, Mummy, cried the first twin. You mean that there is a lady? Oh, so didn't you? She is not dead, is she? Oh, no. I am awfully glad she isn't dead, said Toodles. Aren't you glad, John? Of course I am. Are you glad, Nibs? Rather. Are you glad, twins? We are glad. Oh, dear, sighed Wendy. Though little less noise there, said Peter, who wanted Wendy to continue with her story. Wendy took a deep breath and continued. The gentleman was Mr. Darling, the lady, Mrs. Darling. John and Michael quietly said that they knew them. They were married and had 3 descendants, said Wendy. What are the descendants? Asked one of the twins. They're children, twin, said John, rolling his eyes in desperation. Now these 3 children have a faithful nurse called Nana. But Mrs. Darling got angry with her one day and chained her in the backyard. That very night, all her children flew away. They flew to Neverland, where the lost boys lived. Continued Wendy. Oh, Wendy! Cried Toodles. Was one of the lost children called Toodles? Yes, he was. I am in a story! Hurrah! I am in a story, Nibs. Hush. Think of how unhappy those parents are who've lost their children. Think of all the empty beds and nurseries, said Wendy. If you knew how great a mother's love is, Wendy told the lost boys triumphantly, you would have no fear. She had now come to the part that Peter hated. You see, boys, our hero knew that the mother would always leave the window open for her children to fly back, so that the heroine and her brothers stayed back for many happy years. Did they ever go back? Wendy stood up. Let us take a look into the future. Behold, who is this elegant lady getting off London Station? Can it be? Yes, no, it is the fair Wendy. And who are the 2 noble figures accompanying her? Now grown-up men. Can they be John and Michael? Yes, they are. Oh, Wendy pointed upward. Look, up there, my brothers, the window's still open. So they all flew to the window into the arms of their mother and father. That was the end of Wendy's story. and everyone, including the narrator, was pleased with how it turned out. There was one there who knew better, and when Wendy finished, he uttered a hollow groan. She ran to Peter, thinking he was ill. What is it, Peter? Are you in pain? She rubbed her hand over his stomach. Isn't that sort of pain? Said Peter. After a while, he told Wendy that she was wrong about mothers. Then he told all those who were present about his hidden fears. His present fears. His opinions about mothers. Long ago, I thought like you that my mother would keep the window open for me, so I stayed away for a very long time. Then one day, I decided to go back home, so I did, only to find that my mother had forgotten all about me, that my window was barred, and I found another boy sleeping in my bed. Are you sure mothers are like that? Asked Nibs. Peter nodded in reply. John and Michael ran to Wendy. Wendy, let us go home. Wendy held both of them in her arms tightly. She muttered her agreement. Not tonight, cried the lost boys. Immediately, said Wendy. Mother must be mourning us. She turned to Peter and asked if he could make all the necessary arrangements. As you wish, he replied as coolly as if she had asked him to pass the nuts. In truth, he cared that she was living very much. He went to his tree and only returned to the underground home after giving some instructions to the Redskins. Once there, he saw how bad the situation had become. The lost boys panicked at the thought of losing Wendy, advanced on her, and said to themselves that they should hold her. Wendy's first thought was to run, but then she turned to Silly Toodles for help. He turned on the others. If any of you treats Wendy ungentlemanly, I will hurt him. And when they saw Peter's expression, they knew that Wendy had to go. Peter would never hold a girl in Neverland against her will. He walked up to Wendy. I've asked the Redskins to guide you through the woods. Thank you, Peter, he continued in a sharp voice, one that is obeyed by all. Then Tinkerbell will take her across the sea. Nibs, go wake her up. Nibs went and woke up Tinkerbell, who was annoyed at having her sleep disturbed. Tink, wake up! You have to take Wendy home! Even though the tiny fairy was thrilled that Wendy was going back. She pretended not to hear a thing. Peter, she says no, cried Nibs. Peter strode forward and rapped on her bedroom door. Tink, if you're not up and dressed right now, I shall open the curtains and we'll see you. And you're niggly. This made her leap to the floor. Who said I wasn't getting up," she cried. The boys, in the meantime, helped Wendy and her brothers prepare for their journey with sad faces. Wendy took one look at them and told them that if they came with her, her parents would surely adopt them. The invitation, in truth, was meant for Peter only, but the boys jumped around joyously at the thought. The lost boys ran to Peter and asked him if they could go. "All right," said Peter replied with a bitter smile. And immediately they rushed to get their things. Just then, Wendy saw and looked on his face. One that made her heart sink. "Peter, go and get your things," she cried. "No, I'm not going with you, Wendy," he replied coldly. To show that he was unaffected by her leaving, he danced around the room, playing his pipes gaily, and so the others had to be told, Peter isn't coming." The boys stopped their activities. "Peter not going?" They gazed blindly, the bundles tied to a stick and hung on their shoulder. Peter added darkly that if the boys found mothers, he hoped that they liked them. They didn't know how to react to his behavior. "Now then," he said. "No fuss, no crying. Goodbye, Wendy," he said as cheerfully as possible. Wendy walked up to him and asked him gently if he would remember to change their washcloths. "Yes, and you will take your medicine, yes?" That being settled, he cried out, "Tink, you ready?" "Aye, aye!" "Then lead the way." And at that moment, the pirates attacked the Redskins outside. The air outside was filled with the sounds of swords clashing. Below there was only silence. Peter picked up his sword, the lust of battle glowing in his eyes. Wow! I have no idea Peter acts so childishly like that. I bet Wendy was shocked at him for behaving that way. Join me next time for the 11th chapter of Peter Pan, and I'll see you tomorrow.